Welcome back, Carter. Well, I don't know what the crack happened there, but I lost you guys somehow. Anyways, so Montgomery laid down a traditional, clean, acoustic, and steel guitar-driven track and contributed to an understated but further distinguished the little girl from the typically sick fare playing on county stations these days. Even before Montgomery's band, The New Me album, was officially released, the little girl was leaked to the radio stations and became an immediate sensation. The kind of tune that prompts an inordinate number of calls from listeners asking about the title and artist. I don't even know how I lost you guys. That was insane. So it's the biggest reaction we've recorded all year, John Anthony of WMZQ in Washington, D.C. told Montgomery's website, which also quoted Travis Moon of Key FM, saying, "We played the song once and got about 75 calls. This song ranks in the top 5 of all time in positive testing in the history of the station. At the end of 2000, The Little Girl was listed as the 10th biggest hit of the year in country music. And in a bizarre, real-life development that sounds like an urban legend, or at least like something you'd see on The Practice or Ally McBeal, a judge in Washington, Pennsylvania, actually played the song at the conclusion of a murder trial in November of 2000. Michelle Sue Tharp was convicted of first-degree murder in the 1998 starvation death of her 7-year-old daughter, Tasha Lee Lanham. The poor child had been born 3 months premature and weighed just 12 pounds at the time of her death. After the jury took 3 hours to find Tharp guilty, and the only took 1 hour to find in favor of the death penalty. Washington County, Pennsylvania, Judge Paul Pazonsky delayed the official announcement and set up a boombox in the courtroom with the brand new Me CD cued to The Little Girl. The song was played without comment by Judge Pazonsky before he read the jury's decision. As of this writing, Tharp's attorneys are asking for a new trial, in part because of what they believe was biased and inappropriate behavior by the judge, including the playing of the song The Little Girl in court. So on that note, my friends, let's go to our music break. Here we have Nonye Toria from Biafra, Nigeria. Actually, hold on. Let me look at this again. Because I think King Cinnamon's from Biafra, Nigeria. And Nonye Toria is actually from Ghana, South Africa. So she's going to be singing Paper Loving. It's a remix with Chris. And then she's going to be singing Monyaye and then Yanga. And then we got Mr. Brick Casey from Boston singing Main Thing. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
She know. She know me treat her better than her man. But she a worry about the millions. You love me for true, but certain things in life I say you want to do. Hey, so you say me need to understand that you are made for a money man. But if you can't love me now, don't love me later. When my later is much greater, it only proves that you love the paper, my paper. Boy, me gon' love you now, me gon' love you later. When your later is much greater, cause me a one-man trafficator, yeah. You can say I love him, but I love you more. He took me shopping sprees and bought me finer, but a crown is more. You're the one that gave me proper loving. He might have all the money, everything to satisfy me vanity, but in my heart I knew you were the only one that I would be loving from now till the end of time. Don't love me later, when my later is much greater. It only proves that you love the paper, my paper. Boy, me gon' love you now, me gon' love you later. When your later is much greater, cause me a one-man trafficator, yeah. Girl, I know you want stability, But that no mean say you fi sell your soul for vanity, no. Bright lights, fast cars, and this is the eye. And the fast lane make you lose your sanity. But me can't believe it, sell yourself so short. Forget the money you will make, man, break your parts. But your life make your choice because me now make you break my heart, no. If you can't love me now, don't love me later. When my later is much greater, it only proves that you love the paper, my paper.
Boy, me gon' love you now, me gon' love you later. When your later is much greater. Cause me a one-man trafficator, yeah.
If you can't love me now, don't love me later. When my later is much greater, it only proves that you love the paper, my paper.
Boy, me gon' love you now, me gon' love you later. When your later is much greater. Cause me a one-man trafficator,
I wanted to learn the hard way, so I'm taking you to lover school. You want money just for party, girl. You take me for fool.
every piece of my heart I gave away. I gave it away to you. Why don't you understand, babe? What I feel for you is true. So
if you can't love me now, don't love me later. When my later is much greater, it only proves that you love the paper, my paper.
Boy, me gon' love you now, me gon' love you later. When your later is much greater. Cause me a woman trafficator, yeah. Now, trafficator, yeah. Nonye Monjage Orimi Monjage Orimi Monjage Orimi Monjage Orimi Monjage Orimi Monjage Orimi. Some do good just for the doing, see everything just for the seeing, don't even care what you're receiving. Through all the heights just for relying. I'll be fine, fine, fine lady. I don't wanna be your baby. All I wanna do is get crazy. Wanna have me just get ready. Now wait till Nasabi, I did tell you all my how life is. Now so show love with your heart and show love with your soul. Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi. 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 Some people help just for the helping. Few people love just for true loving. Give everything just for the giving. Don't even care what you'll be receiving. I'll be fine, fine, fine lady. I don't wanna be your baby. All I wanna do is get crazy. Wanna have me just get ready. Now wait till Nasabi, I did tell you all my how life is. Now so show love with your heart and show love with your soul. Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi. Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi. Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi. Monjage Orimi, Monjage Orimi, Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Eh. Show me your younger. Eh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
None, yeah.
Yeah. I love music. Niger music. Niger, yeah. They go everywhere I am. I love music. Niger music. Niger, yeah. They go everywhere I am. Yeah. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Yeah. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Yeah. Oh yeah, come, let's wind it down. Night the people dance to the sound. Show me your younger, let's hit the town. Let's thank Almighty God that it's Friday. The way you're shaking your waist, don't stop till you dance all day. With a groove, the Niger way. If you like to Atlanta, take it better. Niger music is a lovely. We got the hottest music out there. Even start from today. We'll be hitting it from Monday to Sunday. Everybody get ready. It's time for us to get steady. Everywhere we go, Niger music now number one. Niger music, Niger, yeah. They go everywhere I am. I love music, Niger music, Niger, yeah. They go everywhere I am. Yeah. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Yeah. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Been around the world, seen a lot of faces, seen a lot of places, but nowhere like Niger. You gotta stand up for what you believe. That's where you can achieve. Whether you tall or short, slim or fat, now you're Palaban. I beg, throw away your face. That they let people come throw away your face. It don't really matter cause we're all in the race. That's all we can be till we all meet the Niger. I love music, Niger music, Niger, yeah. They go everywhere I am. I love music, Niger music, Niger, yeah. They go everywhere I am. Yeah. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Yeah. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Show me your younger. Yeah.
I like it when you pop it, drop it, swing. Nah, don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that.
Vanilla chocolate flavored, you're the only one that I'm searching for. You the one for me and I can't complain. You sunshine anytime it rain. Not around then I might go insane. I just wanna make you my main thing.
I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that.
Honey, you so sweet I can't ignore. Thinking about you both more and more. Making it pop and drop and swing. I could be the king and you my queen. Yeah, they look good but you I'm saying. I just wanna make you my main thing.
I like it when you pop that, drop that. Keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Who's them dudes in the back with the black on? True deep, don't sleep or slack on. Come to the money, honey, I'ma get a stack on. Excuse me, ma, can I get my Mac on? To the left, throw it to the right. Do it like you wanna do it to me all night. From the block, kid know how to act hard. Like brick house, women with a fat backyard. In the club with me and my man skillin' that. In the back door with me and my man chillin' that. I'm on the floor, I'm like, damn, she killin' that. It's going down, no cop around, feelin' that. I'm fly, I'm a guy that'll get 'em. Player like me, need two of you with 'em. Call you a lollipop and I wanna lick you. Number one, my top choice of pick.
Yeah, give it to me, mom. Go, go, girl. Nah, don't stop. Oh, no, girl.
Break it down for me, hit it, get it gone. Can you keep it going?
On and on and on. Now give it to me, mom. Go, go, girl. Nah, don't stop. Oh, no, girl.
Hey, break it down for me, get it gone. Cause you got it going
on and on and on. Can't deny, boo, that you too fly. Anytime that I look you in the eye, a phenomenon that I can't explain. Like the things you're doing to my brain. You the only one to take away my pain. I just wanna make you my
that, drop that, keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Can't stop thinking about how you move and all the things that I'ma do to you. True, this might be a little bit strange. Don't care if I don't even know your name. That's why I wanna tell you this simple and plain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Who's them chicks all thick with the pumps on? Lumps in the front, back with the bumps on. Not a cat hoping that he get his humps on. I'm way beyond with them other chumps on. Sweet enough to eat and he might bite you. Wanna make love to you, I don't wanna fight you. Nobody like you, not a one like you. When you come around, no telling what he might do. Right now in the club, who the dawn? Don't a man that got it going on later on. I can tell by the dancing, you digging this song. You can tell I've been digging you all night long. And I love to be digging in you all night long. Party right here, hottie all night long. Let's flex it to the coat check, exit to the Lexus, Nexus, triple exit. Come on, give it to me, ma. Go, go, girl. Now don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Break it down for me, get it gone. Can you keep it going? On and on and on. Now give it to me, ma. Go, go, girl. Now don't stop. Oh, no, girl. Hey, break it down for me, get it gone. Cause you got it going on and on and on. I like it when you pop it, drop it, swing. Now don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. You pop it, drop it, swing. Now don't stop it, doing that thing. Go, go, girl, keep doing that thing. I just wanna make you my main thing. Vanilla chocolate flavored, you're the only one that I'm searching for. You the one for me and I can't complain. You sunshine anytime it rain. Not around then I might go insane. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Honey, you so sweet, I can't ignore. Thinking about you both more and more. Making it pop and drop and swing. I could be the canyon, you my queen. Yeah, they look good, but you I'm saying. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Can't deny that you too fly. Anytime that I look you in the eye, a phenomenon that I can't explain. Like the things you're doing to my brain. You the only one to take away my pain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby, now don't you stop that. Can't stop thinking about how you move and all the things that I'ma do to you. True, this might be a little bit strange. Don't care if I don't even know your name. That's why I wanna tell you this simple and plain. I just wanna make you my main thing. I like it when you pop that, drop that, keep going, baby, now don't you stop that.
Fuck me. Welcome back, guys and gals, and thank you so much for tuning in to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So, now I'm trying to find my original story. Pretty sure I didn't do that one yet. Where's the Deborah Harry one? We're done, dipped up. Let it bleed. Oh. Excuse me. I just dropped my book. And it's so irritating. Fire and Rain, we just read that one. The Little Girl just read that one. Okay, there we go. Next chapter. It's called Blondie Blunt's Bundy? Eh? What is happening here? I don't know. Let's see what it says. So, whenever a notorious serial killer is brought to justice, any individual who once crossed his path but for some reason was spared is probably overwhelmed by a palette of emotions that includes relief, gratitude, guilt, and a serious case of the chills. Try to imagine the whirlwind of feelings you'd thank fate for sparing you. You'd feel bad for those who weren't so fortunate, and you'd experience a retroactive wave of terror washing over you as you realize that you, too, could have been the victim. As a reporter in Chicago, I've talked about a couple of guys who, as teenagers, worked for or had past acquaintance with the notorious killer clown John Wayne Gacy. More than 2 decades later, they're still freaked out by the thoughts of what if. And so it is with singer Deborah Harry and her chillingly close call with none other than Ted Bundy. It's a night she'll never forget. So, Harry is the singer and actress best known for her lead vocals with the group Blondie on such late 1970s and early 1980s classics as Heart of Glass, Call Me, and The Tide is High. Bundy was a notoriously charming and handsome monster who was executed for murders of 3 Florida college students. He was held responsible for dozens of other killings in a reign of terror that spanned 2 arrests and 2 escapes from prison, and saw him roam through the states of Washington, Idaho, Oregon, Colorado, Utah, and Florida in search of victims. Didn't they finally capture him in Colorado? I get high like Colorado. Anywho, so on January 24th, 1989, after years of trials and appeals and stays of execution, Ted Bundy was put to death in the electric chair in Florida. A few months after that, Harry gave an interview with Nestor Aparicio, yes, whose story subsequently appeared in the St. Petersburg Times and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the Baltimore Evening Sun. The way Deborah Harry recounts the story is absolutely frightening. Aparicio's story begins, the rock singer, best known for her work in the post-disco new wave band Blondie, was just trying to hail a cab. A little white car pulls up, and the guy offers me a ride. He was very persistent, and he asked where I was going. I got in the car, and it was summertime, and the windows were all rolled up, except about 1.5 inches at the top. So I was sitting there, and he was really talking to me. Automatically, I sort of reached to roll down the window, and I realized there was no door handle. There was no window crank, nothing. The inside of the car was totally stripped out. I got very nervous. I reached my arm out through the little crack and stretched down and opened the car from the outside. As soon as he saw that, he tried to turn the corner really fast, and I spun out of the car and landed in the middle of the street. Harry goes on to explain that after Bundy was executed, she read about him and realized that he'd been the man in the car. I hadn't thought about that incident in years. The whole description of how he operated and what he looked like and the kind of car he drove and the time frame he was doing that same thing in that area of the country, and it fit exactly. My God, it was him. I'm one of the lucky ones. Star, star, star. Well, now, first of all, it's hard to believe that anyone, even a rock star living in the fast lane, only became aware of Bundy and his infamously evil deeds after Bundy's execution. How did Harry miss the years of front-page headlines and TV reports and magazine articles and books about Bundy that had flooded the nation's consciousness for a decade plus prior to his execution? More damaging to Harry's credibility is that there are many exhaustively researched and documented accounts of Bundy's travels, for his first murderous exploits in the late 1960s through his haphazard travels in the 1970s to his final arrest in 1978, and none of these accounts ever placed Bundy anywhere near New York City. Harry claims the incident occurred in the early 1970s. Bundy was in the state of Washington for most of that period, working for the King County Law and Justice Planning, and then attending law school at the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma. I have to tell you, Puget Sound stinks. And people were running all over the place last week saying, what is that smell? And they opened the freezer and they found the guy doing the stanky leg. Stanky leg ain't got nothing on Puget Sound. I'm telling you. Terrible, terrible, terrible. He also worked at the Emergency Services Department in Olympia, Washington, before leaving the state in August of 1974 to attend the University of Utah Law School. Where is this Utah anyway? I don't know. Anywho, he also spent time in Idaho, Colorado, and Oregon in the early to mid-1970s, but no reliable source places him within 100 miles of New York City during those years, and Bundy's car at the time was an ordinary Volkswagen Bug, not a car with the inside stripped out, as Harry put it in the newspaper interview. Deborah Harry may well have been a frightening encounter in the early 1970s with a man who resembled Bundy, but the evidence is overwhelming that the man in question was not the infamous serial killer. Oh, check it out. Puffy Dragon. Ben Stiller's Greg Fokker is riding in a car with his future father-in-law, played by the one and only Robert De Niro. In an early scene from Meet the Parents that's designed to show us that De Niro's character is a hopeless square who will soon have deep suspicions about Greg's interest in recreational drugs. Peter, Paul, and Mary's whimsical hit, Puff the Magic Dragon, comes on the radio, and Stiller tries to make conversation by referring to the real meaning of the song, and it's about the joys of marijuana. De Niro is completely baffled. He's never heard this explanation before, and he can't imagine that anyone other than a druggie would know about such things. He squints at Stiller and says, "Are you a pothead, Fokker? Are you? Freaking butthead, Fokker?" So the makers of a hit comedy in the year 2000 would assume that the most of the audience would understand the inside reference to a 35-year-old pop hit is an endorsement of Puff the Magic Dragon legacy. Ironically, though, it's Stiller's character who doesn't understand the true meaning of the song. For Puff the Magic Dragon is actually about a magic dragon. Can you imagine? I've always heard it's about smoking the reefer. Even before that movie, Meet the Fockers, came out. Yeah, what do you do? So in an era where crotch-grabbing, pierced, and tattooed pop stars sing freely about pot, speed, coke, heroin, murder, infidelity, robbery, prison life, gangbanging, and rape, the music revolution of the 1960s seems almost cute and quaint by comparison. A bunch of long-haired hippies in a fringe jacket singing about the pleasures of spending the night with someone or the joys of altering one's consciousness. Oh, those rebels. Holy schnickies. What are we going to do now? Sandra? What are we going to do about your neighbors, eh? Just kidding. But that's what the mainstream culture was like in the 1960s. The Rolling Stones had to change Let's Spend the Night Together to Let's Spend Some Time Together when they appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. And the Doors were banned from the same program after Jim Morrison defied an addict not to sing You Know We Couldn't Get Much Higher when the band played Light My Fire, and of course the muddy lyrics of Kingsman's Lua Lua. Oh, whoa, yeah, we gotta go. Ay, 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 ay. Well, they're a great source of controversy. Drug references were often implied or buried within seemingly innocuous or carefully coded lyrics. What were the birds singing about in 8 Miles High? Was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds a tribute to LSD? John Lennon also maintained that the title came from a drawing done by his son Julian of a schoolmate named Lucy. What was putting Jimi Hendrix into a purple haze? Just who was this candy man that Sammy Davis Jr. was touting anyway? And when did Steppenwolf sing about a magic carpet ride? Exactly what kind of trip were they proposing? Then again, it didn't take a genius to ascertain that Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit, one pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. You know the song. I didn't sing it right, but you know. That was about drug use, and many other hits from the 1960s were fairly obvious in their meaning. For example, Marianne Faithfull's Sister Morphine, Manfred Mann's LSD, The Small Faces, Itchy Coo Park. Dude, I actually saw Steppenwolf at the Itchy Coo concert. It was amazing. I loved it. Oh, where'd it go? Itchy Coo Park. What? Hold on, I'm trying to find my place. Holy shit. So, T factors. And I don't even think this is where I left off, but I'm going to start here, I guess. Oh, Itchy Cute Park. What will we do there? We'll get high. And Lou Reed's Heroin, to name just a handful. So, why was there such a fracas over Puff the Magic Dragon? And why is there still debate about the true origins of the song nearly 4 decades later? Yeah, the daily parades of collegiate students. What fun Sandra's neighbors have next door. I wish I could partake sometimes, especially these days. So, 2 factors. First, the song was released in 1962 and peaked on the charts in early 1963, putting it just ahead of the Get High curve if Puff had come just 2 to 3 years later. It supposedly, winking, wink, 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 lyrics about a boy named Jackie Paper and a dragon, drag-on, named Puff would hardly have been noticed amidst the cacophony of drug-related songs on the charts. Second, Puff the Magic Dragon was marketed as a children's song rendered by 3 mice, friendly bohemian types who didn't seem all that different from the nice young people who were singing at Catholic guitar masses or teaching second-grade students in the 1960s. You know, the kind of people who were against the war but still respected their elders and weren't too cool to admit that they had done drugs and the music of the singing none. That Peter, Paul, and Mary would be trying to poison young minds with an insidious fairy tale that was really an endorsement of marijuana as nothing short of scandalous. Hello, Rumi. Hello, Dennis. Thank you for joining me, and I'm so glad that you enjoy Storytime. I love you, Rumi, and I'm glad you enjoy this. Indeed. So, by the way, there's a background. So, in the late 1950s, a college student named Leonard Lipton, who had read and enjoyed an Ogden Nash poem called Really Oh Truly Oh Dragon, decided to write his own dragon-centric ditty about a child growing up and leaving behind the imaginary world that he had created. Lipton showed the poem to his friend Peter Yarrow, who added some lyrics as his own and put the compilation to music, calling it Puff the Magic M.F.'n' Dragon. A few years later, the folk trio as Peter, Paul, and Mary turned Puff into a major hit. Puff the Magic Dragon lived by the sea and flirted in the autumn mist and land called Honolulu. Yeah. So after the song hit the charts and became a concert favorite, rumors started circulating that the words Puff and Dragon were marijuana references, that Jackie Paper was an allusion to rolling papers, and that C Puff lived near was a C for cocaine. You know, if you sprinkle some cocaine on your marijuana, that's called a Philly splint. The more you know. There you go. There's your little spliff of information there. Anywho's. So, that the autumn mist was a cloud of marijuana smoke, and that Honolulu was supposedly a secret but very real locale where drug abusers recovered from their addiction. I think people were smoking a lot of pot when they came up with some of these signals. I'm doing quotations with my fingers. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Thank you for the hugs. I love you, Rumi. You're the bestest. Yeah. Signals with my fingers. I'm doing quotations, okay? These were the same folks who later asserted that TV shows like HR Pufnstuf and the Banana Splits were obvious tributes to the drug culture. Hey, smoke enough reefer or drop enough acid, and you can try and find drug references everywhere. Hey, what about Cuckoo's Chicken House, dude? That was some really good chicken. Let's go back and get some more. Now I'm hungry. So Yarrow and his fellow bandmates have also refuted the rumor in countless interviews and stage performances. As the principal writer of the song, I can assure you it's a song about innocence lost. The song and the description was told to the Houston Chronicle in 1995. It's easier to interpret the Star Spangled Banner as a drunk song than Puff the Magic Dragon. This is just a funny rumor that was promulgated by Newsweek magazine. There's no basis for it. It's inane at this point and really unfortunate because even in Hong Kong, it's not played because of the allegations that it's about drugs. But I assure you, it is not. Yeah. I remember hearing about this in history class, as well as Candyman. The Candyman can. The Candyman can. I think acid brought me to a place I can't get out of. Meh. Just gotta deal with it. Yeah, I guess you just gotta, maybe take acid again to try to get out. But at the same time, is that gonna get you deeper in? And that's the scary part. What are we gonna do? So I think next time, if you come back to Colorado, you gotta do some DMT with me. And maybe we can get back to square one. Maybe that'll work. Because, when my sister came out and she visited and had a vacation there, she left me some DMT, and yes, I did try it twice. While she was here, she was smoking that shit the whole time. I'm like, are you fucking serious? That, to me, was insane. She was, smoking it like weed. I'm like, wow, bitch, you really got a problem. And she does, because now she's back in prison. Just so you know, my dumbass sister's back in prison again. Anyways, let's carry on. So, it's just a children's song, Mary Travers said during an October 21st, 2000 concert at Kravis Center in Palm Beach, Florida. Cynics might say Yarrow and company doth protest too much. My dad used to tell me that. Methinks thou dost protest too much. Go fuck yourself, Dad! No, I never said that out loud. I just said that in my head. Anywho's, but for that reason, if Puff the Magic Dragon really was about a marijuana use, why wouldn't the writers and or performers acknowledge it? What they're going to get thrown in retroactive songwriters jail for advocating pot use in the early 1960s, eh? What? Really? So believe what you want. I choose to believe that people who created the song, if they say Puff, should be taken literally. Interpretation of the tune as a story about pot is nothing more than an urban legend. Ooh, we're at the next chapter. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it, Dennis? Yeah, when I first did it, I saw my sister as an avatar princess. And I was like, oh my god, you're so beautiful. Avatar princess. And I had some pinecone lights hanging out in the tree fort. And they looked like glowing hearts. And then I looked down the trees towards the house. And I saw this doorway that was lit. And it was actually my kitchen window. And not a lit up doorway. But yeah. DMT is a very, very, very interesting thing to partake in. It's a very spiritual and awakening sort of process. Second time, we listened to Miranda Lambert. You can't ride in my little red wagon, 'cause my front seat's broken and my axle's dragging. And I laughed so hard that I cried and I cried and I cried some more. But it was a good cry. It was a good cleansing cry. Okay, so this second or last chapter, I believe, is called Legendary Deaths. Mama Cass and the motherfucking ham sandwich. Can you believe it? Hold on. I have to hit my vape. Poor Cass Elliot, born Ellen Naomi Cohen. She was an intelligent, interesting, wisecracking hippie Earth mother with a ribald sense of humor, a hearty appetite for food and men, and a pure, clear voice that was a key ingredient in the beautifully vocal blend of the Mamas and the Papas on such classics as Dedicated to the One I Love, Monday, I Saw Her Again, and California, California, dreaming on such a winter's day. With her sweeping bell-bottom jeans, colorful tunics, and glimmering costume jewelry, her straight hair falling on her face, and her oversized profile, Cass was a very unique figure on the pop scene in the 1960s, eh? But in death, Mama Cass has been reduced to an easy reference that everybody gets, a one-liner that has been mentioned in countless newspaper articles and has been the basis for joke parody floats and avant-garde art, and was even referenced in the Austin Powers movie. Remember Mama Cass? Had she just shared that ham sandwich, perhaps she wouldn't have died. Whatever, Austin. You know how the one-liner goes. Mama Cass choked to death on a ham sandwich. Probably no other fact about Cass is so widely known. People who were born after she died, non-fans who couldn't identify a Mamas and a Papa song on a bet, just say the name Mama Cass to them and they'll reply with a depressing predictability that she choked on a ham sandwich. Mama Cass Elliot, the Zaftig pop diva, reportedly choked to death on a ham sandwich, claimed an article titled, "Death Can Be the End of a Good Reputation," in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram in 1999. The writer went on to say, tasteless jokes are still told about her. True, and it's mostly due to the continued dissemination of the ham sandwich fucking story. So Mama Cass choked on a ham sandwich in 1974, asserted the Chicago Times, or Chicago Tribune, in 1990 article. After the asphyxiation death of INXS leader, singer Michael Hutchence in 1997, the Scottish Daily Record published a long story about Hutchence and the other rock stars who had died before their time, from Marvin Gaye to John Lennon to Kurt Cobain. Roly-poly Mama Cass Elliot was the strangest case of all, wrote Melanie Reed. She was 33 when she was found dead in bed in 1974 with a half-eaten ham sandwich in her hand. The most famous ham sandwich in modern history was also once featured in a Mardi Gras parade, and it was part of a 1978 exhibit in Washington billed as the first annual edible art event. The collection included such folklore-inspired works as Suburban Trick or Treat, an apple with a razor blade sticking out, and the Mama Cass Memorial Ham, a ham sandwich with a bite taken out of it and encased in a plastic baggie. So rock stars of the world, be careful how you live, and especially how you exit this mortal coil. Your last few moments could become more enduring part of your legacy than any song you sang, any person you loved, and any child you parented. So what killed Mama Cass? Let me think. Hey, welcome, champ. Alright, what killed Mama Cass? It wasn't a single sandwich. More accurately, it was the thousands and thousands and thousands of sandwiches that she consumed before her last one. Decades before Oprah and Roseanne experienced yo-yo weight gains and losses, Cass struggled mightily with her lifelong obesity. Her all-time high was a reported 294 pounds, which would be a dangerous amount of poundage for a 6-foot man, let alone a 5'5" woman. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the desperate Cass often resorted to fad crash diets, including one program that had her fasting for days a week. After 7 pounds, she had to be hospitalized, and she never was the same after that. Her health was a constant issue in the years to come. So in 1974, Cass was trying another extremely dangerous diet, and this one had her eating just one full meal a week. But she felt strong enough to fly to London for 2 weeks worth of sold-out engagements that famed Palladium. Cass stayed in behind without you, and everyone's talking in the theme from Midnight Cowboy. In fact, it was the same apartment in which Keith Moon had died in 1974 after one too many nights of excessive imbibing. Elliot managed to take and make it through those 2 weeks of shows, but 2 nights after the final gig, her body was found in bed in the apartment, and a sandwich reportedly on the table by her side. She was 32, and some accounts list Cass as 33, but she was 6 weeks shy of her 33rd birthday when she died. So a physician who noted the sandwich by Elliot's side told the press that she had probably choked on a sandwich. Within a day, some accounts in the American press had it as a ham sandwich, though at least one former bandmate finds fault with that detail. "What is a Jewish girl eating ham anyway?" said Denny Doherty in a January 30th, 2000 piece in the New York Times. "It didn't happen. Her poor old heart just quit." Doherty has forensic pathology on his side. Dr. Keith Simpson performed the autopsy on Elliot, and Dr. Gavin Thurston was the coroner on duty at the time. They both concluded that Elliot had died from a heart attack, and that was brought on by her obesity. Her weight at the time of death was 238 pounds. The physicians found no evidence of food or vomit blocking the trachea and concluded that she hadn't eaten much of anything the several hours before her death. These facts were reported by the press, but by then, the ham sandwich stories were flying about and could not be tamed. Other rumors also began to circulate that Cass had died of a heroin overdose, that Cass has been carrying John Lennon's baby at the time of her death. These two are pure fiction. So by the time she was 32, Mama Cass might have done too much damage to her heart to have survived, even if she had lost weight in a healthy, gradual manner under a doctor's supervision. The ultimate irony, though, is that her lack of eating in the summer of 1974 was deemed a factor in her demise. It's just like in Alone. I don't know if you guys have watched that show. And they've done it in BC, they've done it in Alaska, they've done it in Antarctica, all over the freaking place, where people are alone and they starve themselves to death, or, they try to hunt and eat and fish and do other things to survive, maybe even squash some mouses or mice to pieces. But yeah, once you go without food, you start to get this little flickering or flutter of the heart. Pretty creepy. So a physician who noted the sandwich by Elliot's side told the press she had probably choked on a sandwich. Within a day, some accounts in the American press had it as a ham sandwich, though at least one former bandmate... Okay, so, already read that. Let's go down here. John Lennon's baby. Yay! Okay, so... Oh, man. But it's easy to make those cracks about the fat lady choking down one last ham sandwich, which then chokes her. In that same New York Times article that quotes Doherty Elliott's daughter, Owen, who was 7 when her mother died, says, "It's been hard for my family with the sandwich rumor. One last slap against the fat lady. People seem to think it's funny. What's so fucking darn funny?" Yeah, she said, "What's so darn funny?" So Owen elaborated on her thoughts in an interview for this book. Question: what do you think of the reporters who continue to print false rumors about your mother's death? Answer: I think the reporters are continuing to falsely report the cause of my mother's death are only uneducated. One would think that before doing a story, a journalist would fact check. My mother's autopsy report stated that my mother died of heart failure. I think that the media ate up the story about the ham sandwich. I also believe it is amusing to some sickos that a woman who is so obviously struggling with her weight had apparently died from eating. There was a sandwich found by her bed, half eaten. This is where the story started. It is perpetuated forever. Believe me, this is a very, very sensitive subject, one that it is extremely painful for this family. Question: would you say it's true that your mother's dieting weakened her heart, which led to her death? Answer: it played a part, I'm sure. But there is a history of heart problems in my family. Question: How would you prefer your mother to be remembered? Answer. I would like my mother to be remembered for who she was, a trusted and loyal friend, someone who loved unconditionally, someone who was remembered for her accomplishments. If there's to be a one-liner epitaph for Mama Cass Elliot, it should not be about a ham sandwich. It should be simply this. She had a beautiful voice, more timeless than any urban legend. Ooh, Code Blues Clues. Damn. So in the 21st century, the dead celebrity rumor often seems to be the work of the internet pranksters. They're not innocently passing along a story they heard and believe to be true. They're deliberately and carefully constructing a fabrication, often making it look like a news bulletin on an internet version of a respected news organization such as the Associated Press or CNN. And letting it loose on the World Wide Web, knowing full well it will be picked up and repeated ad infinitum. Around Thanksgiving of 1998, the likely scenario is that somebody sitting in front of the computer somewhere decided it would be fun to kill off Steve Burns, the rugby shirt-wearing, perpetually and supernaturally cheerful host of the popular Blues Clues children's show on the Nickelodeon network. Oh, what fun! Let's kill him off! No Uber Eats when alone. Yes, Robert, yes indeed. So if you haven't seen the show, Blues Clues pairs Burns with an animated blue dog. He asks preschoolers watching at home to look for clues, blue paw prints, as they appear on the screen. When such clues appear, Burns writes them down, and with the help of such animated characters as Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper, as well as kids watching at home, he solves the riddle of the day. Millions of little kids love Blues Clues and its host. So, for someone to start to deliberately spread a rumor that Steve Burns had died is a particularly insidiously thing to do. Burns, that wouldn't just be a cafeteria conversation among adults. It would be a story that would trickle down to very young children and traumatize them, the poor little children. So the story making rounds was that Burns had been killed in a car crash. After a few weeks, when it was obvious that Burns was very much alive, as he was still showing up on Blues Clues, the rumors was that he had been replaced by a look-alike a la the Beatles, supposedly finding a stand-in for Paul McCartney in the late 1960s. So, one possible source of inspiration from Blues Clues rumor in 1995, the same year he began his run on Nickelodeon show Burns, then billed as Steve Burns, did a guest shot on Law & Order in which he played an autistic youth who died while in police custody. Did someone catch a rerun of the episode 3 years later and somehow confuse television and reality? Perhaps a young Blues Clues fan was watching the show with a taunted older sibling who convinced the kid that Steve was really dead. You never know. Burns' own mother called him at one point just to make sure he was okay. So in 1999, the New York Times story about the rumor, Blues Clues chief writer and co-creator Angela Santamero said, "This is very different from the Paul McCartney rumors. It's very different when these are 2 to 5-year-old children talking about these certain things. So Steve has become someone they trust, someone they almost have a play date with and go on adventures with, and thinking he might not be there anymore is really, really upsetting to these poor kids." Which is probably the sick intention of whomever created the rumor in the first place. And a second wave of rumors was even nastier. Now, the story was that Burns had become hooked on heroin and had died of an overdose. Oh my. Blue zombies. I have a blue house with a blue window. Yeah, I remember that song. So in December of 1998, Burns accepted Rosie O'Donnell's invitation to come on her show and have an exchange specifically targeted to little children's. Come on, little children, come over here and let me tell you a story. "How are you?" asked Rosie. I feel great, replied Burns. Burns and Santomero also appeared on the Today Show and talked about the best ways for parents to discuss their rumor with their children. One suggestion I might have made, have the kids watch us right now. He also continued taping episodes of Blue's Clues in New York, made several appearances at very different in various forums on children's television, and did interviews with newspaper reporters. Quote, he walked in the door and the rumor flew out the window, wrote John Kisiwetter in the Cincinnati Enquirer in September of 1999. Steve Burns, host of Nickelodeon's hugely popular Blue's Clues, was not dead. Indeed, he was standing right in front of several reporters. According to rumors on the internet, Steve Burns had been killed in a car wreck or overdose on drugs. Where did the rumors come from? We have no idea, said Burns. In early 2001, Burns announced he would be stepping down as host of Blue's Clues. It's almost a given that when Burns does leave, it will revive the stories about him getting killed. He is not on the show because he's not on the face of the earth. Sigh. Big sigh. Yours might sound different. Anywho, interesting note. About a year before the Burns rumors started circulating, Scott Baio was the victim of a similar wave of stories fueled by several radio reports that he had been killed in a car crash. Baio's own parents reportedly were sobbing hysterically when they called his home to find out that the reports were not true. After a while, I started answering the phone. I'm not dead. So Baio told the New York Times this information. Unlike the yellow wiggle having a heart attack on stage. Yeah, and what about those, what the fuck were those called? Teletubbies. Weird. Wow, you guys. We are at the end of our time, so I'm not going to go into this. The next chapter is The Curse of James Dean. And then we have The Death of the Marlborough Men. And Zine, Dead Legends. And then we have the chapter that is stated, and finally, ooh, I wonder what's in here. What's in here? And finally, oh, women speak in estrogen. Wow. Thanks, Robert Roper. Bibliography and notes. So, I will not be reading that. That is just where he got all of his stuff. But, yeah, so we have 3 more chapters, and we're done, boys and girls. Could you even imagine? So, yeah, I gotta come up here, go past Blue's Clues, put my little marker in here. This is from my grandma, Jean, and she actually worked at the Chula Vista City School District. And that is in Chula Vista, California. And now it's called Something Springs, California. It's not Chula Vista anymore. It says Teaching Our Future. And it's got her phone number, Miss Jean Boyd, teacher. And that's what I always thought. My grandma was a teacher. And then somebody told me she wasn't a teacher. She was a librarian. I'm like, what? No way. My grandma Jean, my Japanese grandma, was actually a freaking teacher. And she used to give me different things, and I'd play school with Amanda and Aaron, who are several years younger than me, but it was a good learning process. For sure. For shizzle my nizzle. So thank you guys for tuning in this evening. And joining me for a story time with me, TessaTNT. I'm so grateful that you guys are here. And I'm sorry about the cutoff. Like, I don't even know what the crack happened there. That was so freaking weird. And thank you all to all of my friends on We Are Paradox Media's KPNL Radio, Facebook, Twitter, iHeartRadio, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse you're listening tonight. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. No, actually next weekend. We have the Paranormal Forum. We might actually go on a live ghost hunt. And then on the following Sunday, We have Psychic Craig LaFleur, and we're going to be talking about energy healing. So don't forget, you guys, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media. Because without you, there is no us. And, you know, I kind of worry about people judging me for doing this because my husband is in ICU and such. But you know what? I really love this, and this is my free time to get away, and there's no reason I shouldn't. So if you guys would like to join us on the Skype after party, look me up and send me a contact request at tessa.n.thomas30@gmail.com or give us a call 970-335-9596. I would like to thank our musical sponsor, Mr. Roy Washington, for providing all the music on our music breaks this evening. And then I'd also like to thank Mr. Jim Morris of the Scottish Isles, Mr. Dell Elson, Kevin McDougall, Miss Mia Savage, and then also Jay Mathis. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you back here, same time, same batty crazy place. Nighty-night, love and light. Take care of my ears.